Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today I'll be playing another traditional draft of the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. Without further ado, let's get into our Pack 1 Pick 1, which has some pretty sweet options. I think our top three here are the Nazgul, which is what I'm going to take. Incredible value on this card, 3 mana for a 2/3, basically, because when it enters the battlefield, the Ring Tempts You, and when the Ring Tempts You, it gets a +1/+1 counter. So it's a 3 mana 2/3 Death Touch. The Ring Tempts You when it hits the board. That's already great value in multiple ways. I'm a big fan of the card, so that's what I'm going to scoop up here. It's also in the strongest color, which is black. The other two options I'd mainly consider would be Quick Beam, Upstart Ent as a big finisher in green decks, or a Birthday Escape for a nice way to cycle through and have the Ring Tempt You in blue. I am not a fan of Elven Chorus at all. The card has been really slow. You need to be able to draw like 3 cards off of it before you're getting like immense value, and at that point you've spent 4 mana to durdle around for a bit. Been very unimpressed by Elven Chorus, but happy to take a Nazgul here to start things off. For pack 1 pick 2, we can stick to black with one of black's best commons, the Dunland Crebain. 3 mana for a 1/1 flyer. When it enters battlefield, it amasses Orcs 2. So this is a great deal, giving you a 1/1 flyer and a 2/2 army off of 1 card. The flyer's a really good ring bearer as well, since it's going to be very hard to block in the sky with only 1 power, so pretty big fan of the Dunland Crebain to follow up the Nazgul here, and I will roll with that. Other options are Rally at the Hornburg for the other strongest mono-colored card, and for the next strongest card in the pack is Frodo Baggins, but that is a dual-colored card that is off-color from our first pick, so my pick order would be Dunland Crebain, then the Rally at the Hornburg, then the Frodo. Pack 1 pick 3, we've got a Golem's Bite, which is excellent cheap removal. It's got some ring tempting value added on top, which is great. Probably going to roll with this. Sticks to black, keeps cutting our main color. We could take Torment of Golem or Mordor Muster, as well as other great black cards that stay on color. Or we could go for Old Man Willow here, because we're pretty likely to play black already, so the only thing we have to do to play Old Man Willow is also play green, and Old Man Willow is a very powerful card. Power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control, so it scales really well throughout the game, and you can just fling your creatures and tokens at opposing creatures as little miniature removal spells, so I think it'd be super reasonable to take Old Man Willow. Out of the black cards, though, I think Golem's Bite is the best pick here by a little bit. Torment of Golem is probably second best. We'll go for Golem's Bite. That is a pick 4 Uruk-hai Captain now, the 2 mana 2/2 menace that adds a +1/+1 counter every time that you're putting a counter on an army, goblin, or orc. So every time you amass an army, you're going to be amassing it 1 power and toughness larger than you would be otherwise. This is a pretty great place to be, and it's basically just taking a mono-colored card out of this pack. We could just take Haunt of the Dead Marshes to be super safe, because this can fit into pretty much any black deck. If you have a little bit of the ring tempting you, you're going to have a legendary on board quite often. Plus, there's a lot of legendaries just straight up in the format to have on board. So Haunt does play quite well. It will pretty much 100% make the cut, but I do think the Uruk-hai Captain is significantly stronger. Pick number 3, I'd probably go for Pelargir Survivors, the 3rd best option. I think that card is just great in pretty much any blue deck I want to be in the format. So blue-black, blue-red in particular. Pick 5, no black cards here. Also nothing good in red, just an Uruk-hai Crusher. Pretty late Dawn of a New Age. You do have to be a very creature-heavy deck for this card to play well, but if you are a deck that can produce a lot of tokens or just plays a high creature count in the first place, this can be quite a bit of card draw. It's going to draw you a creature for each creature you control. It just takes some time to do that. You draw 1 card per end step, but card is pretty great. I'll go for Dawn of a New Age here. Black-white is a deck that can produce a lot of creatures. That is a kind of token archetype in this format. So if we end up in that direction, Dawn of a New Age should be great. I don't really like any of these cards, pack 1, pick 6, but I guess we just go with Ugluk to keep cutting the black-red deck. But I'm not super impressed by him. He's just going to be one really big creature with nothing super fancy going on. Just a single 3/3 that eventually is like just 1/9/9 on the board. So just a 1/1 removal spell, a death touching creature. You're just going to have the whole card die and have gotten no extra value out of it in any way. So not like super pumped about Ugluk, but I will take it to cut red-black. Now there's a Mirkwood Bats or a Swarming of Moria. Some more cards that would be fine in here. I like Swarming of Moria a little more than Mirkwood Bats, but I think I should take the Bats over the Swarming simply because we're more likely to be in black than red. We're guaranteed to be in black and or only just pretty likely to be in red. So I'll take Mirkwood Bats, but that is a card I would like to cut, ideally if we get enough good stuff. Well, Protector of Gondor, pick 8 now. This card is exceptional for the black-white token decks and the white-red human decks, stuff like that. 2 bodies off 1 card is just great. 1/1 tokens are good at blocking ring bearers or becoming ring bearers. Protector of Gondor is a very nice one if we head down the black-white Dawn of a New Age direction. Stalwarts of Osgiliath, another card that is quite solid for the black-white decks just because the Ring Tempt You on ETB is really good. By the time you're playing a 5-mana creature, this will probably be the second time the Ring Tempts You at least, which means that you can make a Ring Bearer have the ability to draw a card and discard a card when it attacks, so you can immediately trigger the +1/+1 counter ability on this. So it's kind of like a 5-mana 5/4 when it enters the battlefield, the Ring Tempts You. So I like Stalwarts a lot. I'm going to take it there. Taking it over the Black Breath is actually maybe a little contentious, because I do think the Black Breath is quite good as well, especially in best of 3 draft, so those cards were really close in terms of power level for what we want to pick there. But looks like we're wrapping up with just a bunch of stuff that would be solid for a black-white token deck here. Either of these is fine. Oh, now I wish I took the Now for Wrath, because I don't think I'm going to want 2 copies of either of these cards. These would both be kind of like a last-second addition to the deck. But yeah, we got a bunch of white cards late, so I'm feeling like white is a good color to be in, and if it's a good enough color to be in, maybe we can get a pivot to red-white. We've got 3 really good black cards. I would really rather not try to play a 3-color aggressive deck, and Eowyn is a very aggressive card along with a lot of our other stuff. So I don't think splashing Eowyn's going to be the best thing ever, because the more aggressive your deck is, the less you want to be dirtling around with any mana issues. Those can be completely detrimental to where you get punished a lot harder when you like miss a splash color in aggro decks than you do in control. I'm still going to take Eowyn because she's super powerful, but ideally if we run Eowyn, it would be off of a solid pivot into red-white here. So I'm going to take Eowyn, see how that works out. This pack kind of just sucks. Whoever drafted a card here took a common, and now there's just Horses of Brunan's great in blue, Pathfinder's fine in green. Kind of it. I mean, Ambush is a very good combat trick, but it's also taking a combat trick. Pack 2, pick 2, or Desperate Rescue's a solid graveyard recursion card. Just don't feel like pick 2 worthy cards. I guess I just go for a black card. Either of these is quite solid. Let's get some more Ring Tempt. I'll take the Sam's Desperate Rescue. Alright, Relentless Rohirrim out of red for red-white. Or red-black. Take the Rohirrim here. Pretty happy with that. Very good creature. Again, any creatures that have the Ring Tempt us when they hit the board play quite well. It's a Shadow Summoning here for black-white, but there's also a bunch of red cards. Smite the Deathless and Rally at the Hornburg being particularly good. Those are both good in red-white or red-black. And we are currently on 1 cheap removal spell with Golem's Bite. I kind of want to take another cheap removal spell like the Smite here for this pick. And now we're like flopping around with red as the main color between black or white as the secondary, which is kind of weird. Would not have foreseen this being the direction we're in right now, but I think that's how it is. There's Protector of Gondor for red-white Eowyn, or Uruk-hai Berserker for black-red Ring Tempt and Amass stuff. I really like Uruk-hai Berserker, probably too much, but I am going to take it here. Works really well with the Nazgul. It's also fantastic with Sam's Desperate Rescue. If you rescue a creature that has an Enter the Battlefield effect to have the Ring Tempt You, then you just speed run the ring, because you've played the Berserker already. That's ring level 1. It trades off dies, you rescue it. Ring level 2, you replay it. Ring level 3, You just need one other card for the Ring to tempt you to get to level 4, and level 4 is incredibly powerful. I'll take the Rally at the Hornburg here over Rohirrim Lancer. It's pretty close between those two, because our deck looks like it's going to have a lot of powerful things to do if we get the Ring to tempt us. But I just think Rally at the Hornburg is absurd enough to take it, even though it's not the most synergistic card we could be scooping up. Now we can take Book of Miserable, which is great after Rally at the Hornburg, or just with a wide board state in general. And it's always like a 3-mana 3/3 at worst, which is not bad. Oh, it's also really good with Ugluk. Or not Ugluk, with Mauher. I got the two captains mixed up. It's really good with the one that adds to your amass, because then it's going to amass 2 and then amass 3. This pack's pretty weak when it comes to red-black stuff. I'm going to take another Protector of Gondor over a Mary. I don't think Mary's super good. In case we get pushed towards white again. But it's like I want to be red-black, hopefully. I'm not going to run 2 Mirkwood Bats in here. I'll take a Knife Wound for another non-creature spell, but I'm not very pumped about that. I am perfectly pumped about a pick 10 Ambush. It's a very nice combat trick. Now we can take a Trebuchet, which is filler, but it's okay. I'm not going to play 2 Trebuchets. I'm not going to play Rising of the Day either, but it's higher rarity, at least for Vault Progress. So many Protector of Gondors. No one in our draft pod likes Protector of Gondor. Sad day for the Protectors. Okay, Claim the Precious. Phenomenal removal spell. Ring Tempts You as well for fantastic Ring Tempt value and synergy. I'm going to scoop that up. For pack 3, pick 1. We just need to find 5 more playable cards to have our deck complete, and we would prefer it if they were pretty much all creatures at this rate. When we have 7 non-creatures already. 7 non-creatures and 17 creatures is pretty much where I want to be. So really looking for like some really good 1 and 2 mana creatures ideally. And that is not what this is. There's quite a solid 4 mana creature though, Torment of Golem. Interact with your opponent's hand, get rid of their best play. Also Erkenbrand if we went full on red-white. Oath of the Grey Host if we went full on black-white. I think these are both weaker for this deck though than Torment of Golem would be, so I'm going to take the Torment. There's a Mordor Muster for a 2 mana creature. 1 ring to rule them all is pretty fun as well, but it really depends on your matchup, so this is very much something that we probably start with in the sideboard. And if our opponent has very little when it comes to legendary creatures, this could be nice. But overall, Mordor Muster is going to be much more consistently solid. So I will take that. We need more main deckable cards to fill out the deck before we start toying around with any sideboard slots. And I don't think we're going to have a lot of space in the sideboard because we danced around with our colors so long. You know what? Actually, rather main deck a Cast into the Fire than a Rush the Room. I think that's just a really bad combat trick. Rather main deck a Black Breath than an Erebor Flamesmith in a black-red deck. I only really want to main deck those Flamesmiths if I'm specifically blue-red. Okay. Bunch of nonsense here. Take a Swarming of Moria for another creature, I suppose. So I'll just rare draft an uncommon for Vault Progress. Another Uruk-hai Captain, let's go. Alright, that's a great 2-drop, that helps a lot. Now we've got 23 cards. Anything we take, we're probably going to cut Cast into the Fire, or Morgul Knife Wound, or Black Breath. At this point, these are the 3 most narrow cards left in the deck. Alright, Haunt of the Dead Marshes, let's go. So I will slap that in here, and I think I'd rather main deck 1 Black Breath than 1 Cast into the Fire because the ring tempts us when we cast it. So I'll cut Cast into the Fire for the Haunt of the Dead Marshes. Okay. I don't think we have a good human count for Erkenbrand at all. I have 1 human and a Rally at the Hornburg. But I'm not going to play a Fire Vortex, so I guess I might as well take it. But I think I'm just shoving it in the sideboard. Basically a 4 mana 3/3 with no text. Alright, I guess this is the deck that we've got. Looks like a very mediocre deck, maybe a little bit below average overall. But it certainly started turning out to be much more reasonable in that last pack there. Before, we were having some really big issues with our mana curve, but now we've got a Haunt, 2 Uruk-hai Captains, Muster, and a Rally at the Hornburg for early game. We've got a Smite for great removal. Golem's Bite's great as well. Claim the Precious is fantastic. Just 1 Knife Wound for bad removal. There's definitely some bad filler cards in here, like a Knife Wound. But I think it really panned out pretty nicely in the end there. This does not look terrible. Alright, here we have a look at the final deck for today. This is going to be a black-red Amass and Ring Tempts You deck. It's just going to be good black-red mid-rangey stuff in general. Not the most aggressive black-red deck ever, because our curve isn't super aggro, but it's decent enough for sure. We have 2 of the Uruk-hai Captain. That's going to make all of our amassing even better, which is quite nice. And we've got a Mordor Muster and a Rally at the Hornburg. So that's what we've got for 2-drop creatures to get on the board early, get some blocks in, get some attacks in. Onto the Dead Marshes as well for a card that can just keep coming back from the grave. Super nice recursive card there. A bunch of the ring tempting us, so we can speed run that ring, try to get to level 2, start drawing and discarding a card every turn, setting that up, and potentially get it to level 4 to end the game later. So we have Relentless Rohirrim, Nazgul, Uruk-hai Berserker, Claim the Precious, the Black Breath, and Sam's Desperate Rescue and Golem's Bite for Ring Tempt cards, which is pretty nice. It's quite a few of them. So a lot of that going on that should make the deck more consistent. That's going to be really nice. And then, as I've said before, just a good amount of interaction. We have good removal spells like Claim the Precious, Smite the Deathless, and Golem's Bite, and some other interaction like Torment of Golem to pull cards out of their hand, and Ambush for very good combat tricks. So a nice flexible deck here. Looks pretty good overall, pretty consistent. Not the most explosive deck at all. Definitely looks very, very average, but a consistent average deck today. Not terrible at all. Without further ado, let's hop into the gameplay and see how it does. Alright, here we are on the draw for game 1. Our opponent is on green-black with a Gorbag of Minas Morgul to start things up. We'll roll things out with a Mordor Muster on turn 2. They'll send in the Gorbag, we'll take the 2. They're just going to immediately sacrifice the Gorbag to draw a card here. Revive the Shire to put it back to their hand and get a food token. Solid value there. I think I'd rather drop the Trebuchet first than the book. So let's get the Trebuchet down and start getting those extra damage flings in. Cash in on a larger amount of immediate damage here. Now they've got a Gorbag and a Haunt. Got a Torment of Golem. I could Torment them and attack with a 3/3. They could kill it there. They can't kill it if I book and hold up Ambush here. So I will do that. Unless they have their own Ambush, or Golem's Bite or something. But they need their own spell to actually kill our army now. And we'll Torment them next turn. The book's looking pretty awkward here, because we're going to have 1 creature on the board to get the +1/+0 menace at this rate, because we just have more Amass. Haven't drawn into any actual physical creatures. More counters to stack onto our 1 army. Alright, single block, we go for the Ambush. The Ambush does protect the army. There's Torment of Golem for our Torment of Golem. And there is 8th land as our draw. Not good. in the slightest. Alright, well at least I still have attacks here. Thanks to just the sheer size of our army. Rally at the Hornburg would have been really good last turn, and now it doesn't really do anything. We make 2 1/1s that just get bodied. I guess I make the 1/1s and send them in, and it makes it so they can't like double block the 5/4 to stop all that damage at least. If they want to just kill our 1/1s here. One of them at least trades into the Haunt if they just go for the double kill on the 1/1s. We're only like sacrificing 1/1 without killing a creature. Alright. They're down to 5. We've drawn into land number 9, but we know that they've drawn at least 7 lands as well. Both players are definitely flooded a bit here. Hopefully they are flooded just as badly as us. That'd mean they'd only have 1 non-land card in hand, maximum. I don't know what non-land card they could really have in their hand outside of instant speed removal. That would make a lot of sense here. Maybe it's an ambush or something? Okay. It's an ambush. Then we're in a top deck war. "100% who draws the best from here on out?" Because I think they probably do have 9 lands just like we do, based on how they've played previous turns. Alright, drop a land, pass a turn. Land number 10, drop a land, pass a turn. Neither player has missed a land drop all game. We've drawn 10 lands, they've drawn at least 8. Yu-Gi-Oh! May have card games on motorcycles, but Magic the Gathering has card games on slow-moving cruise ships. Just a relaxing voyage. We're sitting on the jacuzzi in the cruise ship, drawing land number 11. Oh my god, this is actually insane. They've played 10 lands. We've played 10 lands. I do draw into an Uglook of the White Hand. If they've drawn literally nothing but lands, that might just finish them. Nope, they do have a removal spell for that. And this is part of why I really dislike the Trebuchet and consider it to be pretty filler, as you do get in positions like this where it's like, thanks Trebuchet. But it did cash in for a lot of damage earlier. We have drawn into the Nazgul, which is good. I'm keeping this land in case we get the ring to level 2. Alright, that is very scary. And it lets them reanimate the Haunt, but at least since Nazgul's a ring bearer, they can't block the Nazgul. That probably wins the game in a top deck war like this. Because now they just get to chump Nazgul with the Haunt over and over again while they hit us for 8 a turn, so we die real fast. I could just trade the Nazgul into it, I guess, because it's got Death Touch. Would really rather not. If I don't, I am taking 8 damage a turn. I'm gonna hit them once, and then I'll probably hold the Nazgul back to trade. If we can't find lethal off this attack, which if they have nothing in hand, this attack is lethal. They've got an Uruk-hai Berserker though, it is no longer lethal. Smite the Deathless makes it a lethal attack again. If they've got no interaction here. Because I attack with both of these, they can't block either, and I've got a boulder getting flung at their face. Because the captain is an orc. Alright, so they can't block anything, so it is a lethal attack. That was not a good game of Magic. That was two players flooding out and hoping for the best. But I guess I will take that victory when we get it. So overall, they're like a black-green value deck, mainly just a black deck, it looks like, which makes sense. The only green card we saw was the Spider and the sorcery to return a permanent from their grave to hand. But mainly a lot of 2-for-1 value, cards like Torment of Golem to discard a card and get an army, Ambush to trade up and get a food, Berserker for the Ring Tempt, Revive the Shire for Graveyard Recursion plus get a food. Solid little grindy deck there. I don't think there's much we can really sideboard around. We didn't see great cast into the fire targets. Nor do I really want Rush the Room for the trick. Yeah, we'll just hop back in there. Alright, here we are for game 2. Can't really keep this hand. No black source. We've even got double black cards in it and no red cards. Okay, don't like this hand either, but I don't think we can afford to mulligan down to 5 because it's playable. We've got a Trebuchet and a book. And now we've even got an Uruk-hai Captain, which is very good to play that right before a book or right before a Trebuchet. Really, either of those cards synergizes quite well with the Captain. I think I'm going to drop the Trebuchet first and immediately start hitting for 4 damage a turn. Wait on the book until I've got a wider board state so we can get more value off of the big Menace trigger. Plus, if we hit a land, a Mirkwood Bats on board with a Trebuchet popping off could be very powerful. Okay, Oath of the Grey Host. We're both going to get food, then I'm going to lose some life, and then they're going to get some 1/1 flyers. So the Black Breath is actually going to come in very hot this game. Because we'll be able to wipe out all the 1/1 flyers they're going to make from the Oath of the Grey Host. There's the big spider, but that spider does not have reach, weirdly enough. So they can't stop the bats, and they can't stop the boulder. So I think it might be worth sending in the Uruk-hai Captain, letting them kill it to hit harder, because I hit them for 4 damage with the boulder. Because I make a boulder, I make a token, sack a token, that's 2 damage from bats, plus I hit them for 2. So I hit them for 6 in the sky if I send the Captain in and just trade into the Guardian. I think that is fine with me. But let's play the book first to get the extra +1/+1 counter from the Uruk-hai Captain. And then we'll make the attack that gets it killed. I guess they do get another food token. They turn this into a food. That's fine. They still have to spend mana to eat all the food, which means less mana to play more actual creatures and stuff. This is Ward 2, so I can't knife wound it right now, so we're just gonna pass. I can eat my food to damage them 1 more. Probably will do that just to be mana efficient. Ping them for 1 and gain 3. they don't have interaction for the Mirkwood Bats or the Trebuchet, then they are dead. That's going to be 4 flying damage plus the boulder entering the battlefield and getting sacrificed is another 2 damage. It's going to be 6 damage. So they have to hold up some mana to eat the food if they can't deal with any more of our creatures. Okay, they're going to go for the pass turn. Let's eat our food. Get our Mirkwood Bats trigger. Probably pre-combat the Black Breath so that our Orc Army becomes a ring bearer and they can't block it with their gigantic spider. Well, now I've got a Nazgul to play instead. I feel like I like the Black Breath better because it's better if they have some instant speed way to kill the Orc Army. Because then they don't have all these flyers later. But I guess they'll mainly just be playing them on blocks anyway. And I can just kill them when they try to block with them later. Yeah, Nazgul seems fine. We definitely do one of these pre-combat. Let's go Nazgul. Well, they're letting the triggered ability go off, so I think it's too late for most things that would save them at this point. The big worry here was that they would blow up the army before we get to declare an attack with it, and then we only hit for 2 when they're at like 8 life. Okay, so they've got a bow to give the spider reach, but that's not going to save them thanks to the ring bearer. Alright, we do find a victory in round 1. Pretty rough round for our opponent. We just had some really, really nice synergies popping off in game 2 there that they didn't have interaction for between Trebuchet and the bats together, really getting a lot of extra damage in. Of course, the Uruk-hai captain as well for the menacing orc to get those boulders flinging. Really lucky how our cards just all glued nicely together in that game 2. And game 1 again, that was just not much of a game of Magic. That was more of a game of war where we were trying to draw cards with bigger numbers on them. Here we are for round 2 on the play. Very solid hand here. A little bit high on mana, but we get to scry with the Haunt of the Dead Marshes to make sure we don't hit a 5th land off the top immediately. Alright, get that 5th land out of here. And even if there's a land tucked away under it, that's still great value from the Haunt because it stopped us from really flooding out. And there was a land tucked under it, so I'm really happy to have had a Haunt the Dead Marshes in this opener. Otherwise, we'd be at 6 lands already. I guess next turn. Okay, we would have been at 7 lands if I didn't scry one away. 6 is still a lot. 3 non-land cards, 6 land cards. Okay, we've more than twice as many lands as non-lands. That's never what you want to see. Let's drop an Uruk-hai Berserker pre-combat. Because if they have the counterspell, they can counter it at either time. And if they have a Deceive the Messenger, I can make it so they can't kill our army with Deceive the Messenger. Soothing is... If they don't have a counterspell, I will happily take an Uruk-hai Berserker to recast. Because then we get to draw a card and discard a card off of our Ring Bearer. Yeah, I mean that's a Flame of the West, so if they play basically any creature, they win. Because they just put this on any creature, the creature attacks for a lot, and they get 2 1/1 flyers tapped in. Well, not tapped in attacking, but tapped onto the board usually. And then they can move the equipment to the flyers and start attacking with those individually. So that's super scary. Awkwardly enough, I did draw a 4 mana Ring Tempt Us card, so I'm going to get that mana investment out of the way. But generally, I would have been pretty happy that they Soothing back our Berserker so I could replay it and have the Ring Tempt Us again. Just not going to do it quite yet. I'm going to get the 4 drop out of the way first. And that played out really well, because now for 5 mana, we can play Berserker plus Smite. So we Smite whatever they play. Oh god, if they have a land, we probably lose. They don't have a land. That was a really pivotal turn for our opponent. If they had the mana to rally and immediately equip one of those humans with the sword, that would have been incredibly, incredibly bad for us. Because they would get it started, and once it gets started, you can't really stop it well. Because then they have 2 extra 1/1 flyers to get swinging in. Smite the Deathless was a really important draw for us, and now we have a Smite the Deathless and a Golem's Bite. I'm just going to recast the Berserker here. I suppose I don't need to do it pre-combat, so I should just attack with everybody and do it post-combat. No, I'm going to do it pre-combat so I can move the Ring Bearer to the Rohirrim so I don't have to lose the Orc Army to their human soldier here. I think that seems fine to me. Although I could also just still send in the whole board. Because I still have a 1/1 Haunt of the Dead Marshes to make a Ring Bearer. Yeah, I'm still going to attack with everybody here. We can lose an Orc Army. Okay. So now, once they move to combat, we'll blow up whatever they put the Flame of the West on. Okay, they're moving to combat, so let's... Golem's Bite. What's better? Against double blue and 1, both just get countered if they have Saruman's Trickery. They could have the thing that turns it into a 5/5 till end of turn, but both of these lose to that card as well. I can't think of any card that stops Smite that doesn't also stop Golem's Bite, so I guess I just go for the more expensive card. If I go for Golem's Bite, I can exile it from grave and make a level 4 Ring Bearer next turn. Let's actually do that. Set up for a level 4 Ring Bearer. Because now for my 6 mana, I spend 4 on Bite and 2 on Smite. Works out fine. There's a Claim the Precious here. I can just Claim the Precious and Smite, and then they're just dead. Alright. I mean, I give them extra information about what's in our deck. Now they get to see more of our burn spells, but whatever. Kills them this turn. Which is pretty important. Alright, so they're a blue-red deck with Anduril Flame of the West, and that is the scariest card, so we're definitely going to play Cast into the Flame in this matchup, because it's solid against Rally at the Hornburg, and particularly good against Anduril. We only saw a 2/1 flyer for an actual creature card, and Cast into the Fire is also good against that. So we definitely put in the Cast into the Fire. The Black Breath does also seem reasonable. What am I cutting? What does not seem great? Most of our creatures are pretty good against bounce spells from them as well. Maybe the Knife Wound doesn't really do anything. I think I am pretty happy to cut a Knife Wound for a Cast into the Fire here. It's cutting a removal spell for a removal spell, and the removal spell we're putting in is significantly better in this matchup, so that seems very reasonable. We'll roll with that as we head into game 2. Well, this is a pretty excellent hand. We've got great interaction, and then we have a Kerbane alongside a Trebuchet to get flinging for a lot of damage, potentially. Okay, so they're probably just holding up a bunch of counter mana. We'll have to be the proactive player here. Let's try to get a Kerbane down. We do get it down. We haven't seen a single counterspell from them yet, but the counterspells are pretty playable in the format. It's another Anduril Flame of the West hand. Okay, so we need to make sure that doesn't pop off, so let's hold up 1 mana for Golem's Bite, just in case they play a Rally and equip it to one of the Rally tokens. So we go Trebuchet, hold up Golem's Bite. Hit for a lot of damage, have the Golem's Bite in response to the Rally at the Hornburg. War Beast of Gorgoroth, that's really awkward. Because if I claim the Precious Hit, they'll still have an army left behind to then put the sword onto. The army's going to be a 2/2. I don't enjoy that. I guess if they block my army, I can Golem's Bite the War Beast and they won't have a creature left over if I just attack here without amassing again first. I think that's fine. And then if they just don't do any blocking, it's probably not worth it, but maybe it would be to Golem's Bite and claim the War Beast. Yeah, so here's the thing. Either way, to stop the Anduril from popping off, I'm going to have to spend Claim the Precious and Golem's Bite. I'm going to have to claim the beast now and then bite when they try to equip it to the 2/2. So is it better to just Golem's Bite first and then claim so that they just don't even get a 2/2? Just while they're tapped out? If they top deck like a Rally at the Hornburg or something, that's pretty bad. I think it's probably... It's close, but it's probably better to claim and then hold on to the Golem's Bite. But I guess if they top deck a Rally, they could, if they have a 6th land, they could still spend 2 to equip to the Orc and then still have the mana to play the Rally and equip to the Rally. Oh, do they have the sack and deal 4? Ooh, that's pretty disgusting. Yeah, that's a filthy response. Okay, well. Ooh, Torment of Golem. Speaking of things that are filthy. I'd like to just do that. I guess I'll Swarming of Moria first, because I can do both of these. Get quite a hefty token. Okay, in the future, I'm going to do the thing where I just blow that up while they're tapped out. Now that I know they have an Improvised Club in their deck to like sack in response to removal. Or try to clear things out at sorcery speed while they're tapped out. Aomer and a Willow Wind. Okay, I don't like either of these, but if they top deck a land, Aomer gets equipped with Anduril immediately. And that is very bad for me. So I'm going to let them keep the sorcery speed big flyer thing. Oh, I guess they don't have to top deck a land because they can just island cycle. Then next turn they just play a land and equip whatever they play. So that's going to be a 5/5 flyer. We can hit them hard enough that they are not really going to be in a position... Oh my god, that's a good draw. We can hit them hard enough that they're not really going to be in a position where they can afford to attack us with that Anduril. So they don't get any creatures here. Because I get to attack, they can't block the 4 damage. So they take like 6 here and kill my Kerbane. And then even if I don't get to ambush the Willowwind here, it's not like they can afford to attack me and get their flyers. Because they need to not die next turn, and I'm dealing 7 right now. So they'll be at 2 life. Yeah, and if they do block, then we just ambush. So they're down to 3. Ambush was a spectacular draw there, but I think we'd be in a good position even without that. Because again, at 3 life there, I don't think they can afford to attack and make the spirits. Okay, there's a 1/4 on the ground. That is a blocker. For our Ring Bearer, 4/5 is still a blocker. Mirkwood Bats? What a top deck. Oh my god. Unless they have the 1-mana counterspell. They do not have the 1-mana counterspell. So now they just die to the boulder. They like extra die to the boulder. Alright, well, very, very lucky rounds so far for our first 2 rounds. Means it's going to be 2 and 1 at worst. Which is pretty nice. Out of 3 rounds, we can win the majority of them. I'm pretty happy, win rate wise. But when it comes to those prizes, these traditional drafts are pretty top heavy. We're at 1,000 gems and 3 packs is the current reward. And if we can win the final battle, the final boss, then we get huge prizes. So a lot of stuff on the line here as we head into the final round. Here we are for the final battle. I am going to keep this hand. We do need to draw a land relatively quickly. But we have a Smite to interact with their early creatures. And as soon as we hit one land, Nazgul is going to be a very good play, and Trebuchet is going to be solid. Blue-black deck, do I immediately want to Smite the Survivor on the play, or just drop the Captain for Captain into Trebuchet, potentially? I think I want to just slow them down here and kill their Mana Dork. Since they're on the play, and probably pretty likely to be curving out here, yep. Survivor into Brain's pretty bad for us. Now I got a Mordor Muster to draw a card and try to hit land 3, so I don't miss a land drop. There we go, didn't miss a land drop. It is a little sad to have to amass before I have the Uruk-hai Captain on board, but I think it is much better to try to hit those lands. Alright, their deck is insane. Every card they've played so far is premium. Birthday Scape, Dunlin Crebain, Nazgul, and Pelargir Survivor. Very good looking blue-black deck. Be happy to have that collection of cards. So I am certainly nervous. And we're definitely stumbling this game. So we're certainly falling behind pretty quickly. Guess we probably just drop a Nazgul, so at least we can Nazgul trade into their Nazgul. Not super happy with it. Oof, the 1 mana counter as well. The Stern Scolding for the Nazgul. This game feels pretty over. We're on a relatively mediocre deck. And we've drawn pretty poorly. We're stumbling a lot here. And they seem to be on like just a premium deck and drawing incredibly well. Got a lot more cards than them at this point. So if I can survive, I can slowly try to grind things back in our favor. Good lord, their deck is good. I think the only thing that I don't like in their deck is the Inherited Envelope, Great Hall of the Citadel, like very bold Frodo Baggins splash, but all of the blue-black cards in there, premium stuff I'm always happy to have. If they've got some other off-color legends that are stronger than Frodo, then that would make the splash make a lot of sense, so I imagine they do. I imagine they're splashing for more than just Frodo off of the Great Hall. Frodo's a strong card, I just don't know if I would splash for it in a blue-black deck that's already incredibly powerful. So drop 1 creature to trade into the army and take 3 here at this point. If I don't draw my own Crebain, we're going to die to that Ring-bearing Crebain. Good lord. Alright. That is probably game. We got a 1 at best. I cannot play anything that'll block the Crebain, so even if I somehow manage to stop everything else, that is quite dead. Alright, well this is going to be a real uphill battle. The card quality is through the roof over there for the blue-black control tempo stuff. Multiple Scoldings are fantastic in this matchup. Trickery's incredible. Escape, Vanguard, all the 2-for-1 army kind of stuff. Nazgul, Crebain. I don't think we really have a sideboard for this, but just the MVP, super good blue-black deck versus a pretty average red-black, pretty mediocre red-black. Yeah, we don't really have a sideboard. Just gotta hope to draw significantly better. Because in order to win the matchup, because their deck is already just stronger up front, we're gonna have to draw better than they do. If we draw equal to how they draw, or if we draw even slightly worse, we're gonna get crushed. And game one, we drew quite a bit worse. So we are really fingers crossed in this matchup. They start with a mulligan, which is good for us. They have to start with 6 cards in hand, so they are down a card initially. I'll try to lock in the Swarming of Moria here. So I've got that treasure token, and I can definitely Torment of Golem them next turn, even if I don't hit a land. So there's the Inherited Envelope. So we might be able to see what else they're splashing in there. I do naturally hit the Torment mana, so I'm just going to do that without cracking the treasure. Let's see what they've got. Ooh, they're flooding a bit for sure. They just have a Lorien Revealed to draw 3 and a Torment of Golem. So they have the mana to cast Lorien Revealed next turn, but they won't immediately impact the board. That's going to get them out of this kind of flooding position here. But I think it's better to kind of force them to just tap out and not affect the board next turn and try to get aggressive here than it is to let them rip one of our cards out and have a 2/2. Or they could top deck a Nazgul and then they can affect the board this turn. I've got the Smite for the Nazgul though, so it's actually better for us that they went for this than if they had just cast Lorien Revealed. So I'm down with that. Now we can just drop Trebuchet. We know they don't have interaction right now. Could drop the book instead. I think Trebuchet is just more immediate damage. And I don't have to crack the treasure for it, which is nice. Alright, so we hit for 6. They tap out for Lorien Revealed. We hit for 7. Seems to be going pretty well this game. They're going to have to draw some cheap stuff. So they can Lorien Revealed and cast something else. Or they could just top deck Gas 2 turns in a row. Yeah. Definitely still in the lead. But these draws are quite solid. Okay, they're just going to scoop them up. They are so over it. Game definitely wasn't completely over, but I will take what I can get in this matchup. We are 1-1 now, heading into game 3. Again, don't really have a solid sideboard here. I could side in a Cast Into the Fire just to blow up the envelope. They don't have a lot of 1 toughness cards. They did have the Kerbane that was important, so I guess Cast Into the Fire is probably okay. It might be better than the Black Breath, because we haven't seen any positions where they've had more than one toughness card on board as far as I remember. So just Cast Into the Fire over Kerbane seems fine. Maybe over the Knife Wound. Or sorry, Cast Into the Fire over the Black Breath seems fine. Or over the Knife Wound. I'll run it over the Black Breath here. And we'll see how things go for game 3. And here we are for the final game of the entire round. Our opponent immediately snap keeps with a turn 1 birthday escape, and that is not good. We've got a good curve, but we are on the draw, so we're going to be just naturally slamming things down a bit slower than our opponent. Okay, Inherited Envelope means we do get to be in the aggressive position here. I don't think it's worth Cast Into the Firing the Envelope when they have a Great Hall of the Citadel on board, because pretty much everything they're splashing is just going to be good legends. We've seen an Eomer and a Frodo, and Great Hall can cast either of those. Now I can get rid of the envelope just to put them down a mana so they don't have 5 mana up next turn. But I think I should be trying to curve out with my creatures, especially when I have to claim the precious for whatever they try to slam down for 5, like an Aomer or something. So let's just curve out a bit here with Uruk-hai Berserker. So there's Aomer. Who would have guessed? Drawn to a Nazgul. So now we claim the precious Aomer. Next turn I can play Nazgul and cast into the fire. Yep, I think that's where we're at. And I get to draw a card, discard a card off this attack. Okay, we don't need land 6, so we'll discard that. Land 5 is still quite good, though. Eagles of the North. Okay, that's not scary at all. Not scary at all. Drawn to a Golem's Bite. I mean, at this point, they've got 5 mana without the envelope. I don't think it's that valuable to just kill the envelope, so I might just Rohirrim holding up Golem's Bite. I should just attack first, though, because Rohirrim level 3 of the ring doesn't do anything more than level 2 on this current board state. Drawn to a Smite for the Eagles. I almost feel like I keep the Smite over the cast into the fire, even though I could kill the envelope. I could have even killed the Eagles pre-blocks, but I'm cool with the trade. Now we're on Rohirrim, hold up Bite. Could go Nazgul, hold up Smite, because then the Nazgul gets another counter. But Rohirrim is more immediate damage, and they're tapping out for Lorien Revealed? I guess not tapping out. They've got a mana left, maybe 2. They've got 2 mana left. Easterling Vanguard is the play. I can smite that. Oh my god, this is actually sweet. We might just outrace them here. So we bite the soldier. If I draw land, we really outrace them. Okay. 9 damage? Yeah, we do that. Yeah, we do that. Oh wait, I don't even need the land. I can just use Nazgul to be level 4 of the ring. Oh my god. Hold up a second. Hold up a second. I get to draw and discard as well, put them to 2 life. And I've got a Golem's Bite engraved to move level 4 Ringbearer around. There's their Nazgul. Not enough to beat the current board state. We go for the attack and see what happens. They scoop them up. Okay. It's going to be a 3-win run in today's traditional draft. Again, I think their deck was very solid overall. We must have just seen all of their like best of the best cards game 1, because that was some really, really good stuff. Double Stern Scolding, Saruman's Trickery, they had the Nazgul, the Dunlin Crebain, the Birthday Escape, Lorien Revealed. Definitely saw some more of the dirtily splashy stuff in game 2, game 3 with cards like Eagles of the North getting the splash mana in. The Inherited Envelope. But they cast the Aomer off the splash this game, so they were definitely doing the Great Hall of the Citadel thing for sure. But we just got some really good hands these last 2 games where we kind of just drew our best stuff. I mean, the card quality was insane here. Like, the card quality of this game makes it look like we drafted a really good red-black deck. We had Claim the Precious, Uruk-hai Berserker, Golem's Bite, Smite the Deathless, Uruk-hai Captain, Rohirrim, and Nazgul. Every single card we cast this game is like a card that I wouldn't mind first picking out of like a weaker pack, but still. Every card we cast this game was fantastic. did not hit our duds like Ugluk until we didn't need to cast anything anyway, or our Trebuchet or anything like that. So this was kind of the opposite of game one. This time we just drew all of our super bomb commons and uncommon stuff and just hit them with that pure card quality off of just a little bit of an awkward hand. Didn't curve out perfectly. They eventually just ran out of gas without the Aomer and the Eagles, and yeah, really good stuff there. Super lucky overall. Again, I think this was a pretty average, pretty mediocre red-black deck. Not the perfect deck at all. We were certainly bouncing around with multiple different potential colors we could go into, different archetypes we could go into, and that made it so we had kind of a weaker deck in the end. We didn't have as many options out of the sideboard, although Cast Into the Fire as a sideboard option was nice for round 2 and round 3. We considered bringing it in. I don't think we ever cast it still, but it could have been good in different positions. Here's another look at the deck. Overall, we certainly can't be happy with the run. It was a 3-0 run. It was absolutely fantastic. I think we lost one game all day, if I remember right, just in the final round. The more filler cards here that we could, if it was Magical Christmas Land and I could just swap out some stuff for other commons, probably like the Knife Wound and the Swarming of Moria as a little bit slower, a little more dirtly stuff. The Bats and the Trebuchet won some games because we drew them together. We just got really lucky and drew their kind of combo together, but generally alone they're not as good. And then Ugluk I'm not a huge fan of. So like, we had these 6 cards I don't like that much. I consider these all to be pretty filler, at least in the main deck. That could have been like, the perfect draft would be like, we've got a couple more Uruk-hai Berserkers instead of some of these, maybe another Mortar Muster, Rally at the Hornburg or 2, maybe another Smite, some more stuff lower on the curve, and some more Ring Tempting to be really consistent at that. But deck still played out super well. And as you can tell in that last game, we cast only cards from this pile of great stuff. I think pretty much all this is pretty great stuff. Really good run. I will absolutely take it. We get 2,500 gems, 2 play-in points to use towards a qualifier play-in event, and 6 packs of the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the videos. If you'd like to see more videos like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link or the YouTube join button below. And other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.